Alice was beginning to get very tired of sitting by her sister on the riverbank, having nothing to do. The day was heavy and languid, the air thick with a strange, drowsy warmth that made her eyelids flutter. Then, quite suddenly, a white rabbit ran close by her, muttering to itself in a hurried, frantic voice. Curious and without much thought, Alice rose to her feet and followed. When the rabbit darted into a rabbit hole under the hedge, Alice went after it, never once considering how deep the fall might be. She fell and fell and fell. The darkness swallowed her whole, and though at first it felt like floating through a dream, soon the walls around her twisted, lined with crooked doors, melting clocks, and whispered voices just out of reach. The scent of scorched sugar and something rotten filled her nostrils. Still, she did not scream. Something inside her knew somehow that it was too late for that. When she landed, soft-footed and breathless, she stood before a hallway lined with mismatched doors. And Wonderland at last unfolded before her. It was bright, achingly bright, colors sharper than they should be, like paint peeled off an old canvas. Flowers sang tunes with words she couldn't catch. Birds spoke riddles from trees whose bark trembled as if breathing. Yet beneath it all was a wrongness, a sour note in every laugh, a flicker behind every smile. Alice wandered the strange lands until she met him. A blue caterpillar coiled atop a mushroom, blowing smoke rings that shimmered into monstrous shapes before breaking apart. His eyes gleamed yellow, predatory. "Who are you?" he asked, dragging the question out into a slow, oily drawl. "I'm Alice," she said, but the name felt lighter on her tongue than it should have. "Prove it," the caterpillar said. The mushroom beneath him unfurled into a path of stepping stones, floating over a void that smelled of ash and iron. Each step had a word etched into it: hopes, dreams, fears, memories. "You must cross," the caterpillar said, lazily expelling a breath of smoke that curled around her ankles. "But be careful what you lose along the way." Alice hesitated. The first step was solid: dreams. The second wobbled violently underfoot: memories. Each stone she touched vibrated through her bones. Every misstep peeled something intangible from her. Laughter she had once shared, the image of a birthday cake, the warmth of her mother's hug. When she finally reached the other side, her chest felt hollower. The caterpillar merely smiled and vanished into smoke, leaving her to continue on. The world behind her dulled. The sky, once an endless azure, now crackled with hairline fractures like glass. The next to greet her was the Cheshire Cat. His grin appeared first, wide, unsettlingly wide, before the rest of him shimmered into view atop a dying tree. "A little lost, are we?" he purred. His voice dripped like honey left too long in the sun. "I have to find the way out," Alice said, though her voice trembled. "Then catch me," the cat whispered, and leapt into the twisted woods. She chased him, branches tearing at her dress, unseen hands brushing her arms. The world bent and spun. Every step forward stretched longer, every turn circled back. The cat flickered just beyond reach, each glimpse of his disembodied grin making her heart pound harder. "Faster, little Alice!" he called, voice echoing from all directions. Finally, when her lungs burned and her legs buckled, she stumbled into a clearing. The cat sat there, whole, watching her with eyes like twin moons. "You passed," he said. "But what did you lose?" Only then did Alice realize. Her feet no longer touched the ground. She hovered slightly above it. Gravity had forgotten her. Her body, once tangible, now felt as light as a sigh. The cat bowed mockingly and vanished again, leaving only the whisper of laughter. At the heart of a crooked grove, Alice found a long table stretching into the horizon, set for tea. The Mad Hatter sat at the head, pouring steaming cups for absent guests. "Late, late, late," he muttered without looking at her. His hands twitched, and his hat was stitched with blinking eyes. He thrust a cup at her. "Choose." Alice peered at the endless rows of teacups. Some steamed pleasantly. Others bubbled darkly, emitting tiny screams. One shivered violently, rattling on its saucer. Her hand hovered, heart hammering. Choose wrong, and she didn't know, but she felt the consequences pressing against her skin like knives. She picked a plain, modest cup. The tea inside was cold, bitter. She drank. The world spun. Visions racked her. Scenes of her own face melting into the Queen's cruel sneer, of Wonderland's denizens laughing as they tore the ground apart, of the White Rabbit turning his back on her as she screamed. When she gasped for air, the table was gone. The Mad Hatter was gone. Only a cracked teacup remained in her trembling hands. Another piece of her, courage, perhaps, peeled away, unseen but deeply felt. Alice stumbled through a thinning Wonderland, the colours now barely more than greys and sickly yellows. It was there that she came upon the Queen of Hearts. The Queen was no longer grand and terrifying. She was crumbling. Her red gown tattered and faded. Her crown tilted askew. "Kneel!" the Queen rasped, voice like crumbling paper. Alice did. She didn't know why. The Queen's hollow eyes bored into her. "Prove you exist," she demanded. A courtroom materialized around them. Faceless jurors, towering judges, mouths sewn shut. Alice tried to speak. "I am Alice." But the words sounded feeble. The Queen slammed a broken gavel. "Your memories, your dreams, your soul, where are they?" Alice clutched at her chest. Empty. Still, something stubborn flickered inside her. The thinnest thread of herself. "I am," she whispered. The Queen collapsed into dust. The jurors melted into mist. The courtroom dissolved into endless white. The White Rabbit appeared again, silent. Alice followed him without question. They walked across a barren plain where the ground was slick as glass, and the sky was a void. No flowers sang here. No laughter echoed. Nothing. Only silence. At the center of it all, the rabbit stopped. He turned, red eyes gleaming. "Would you like to become the next queen?" he asked. His voice was soft, almost tender. Alice blinked. For a moment, just a moment, she thought of saying no, of clinging to the shredded remnants of herself. But then she smiled. A slow, dark smile. "Yes," she whispered. The rabbit bowed and vanished, leaving her alone. Alice stood there, the silence folding around her like a cloak. She could feel the hollowness inside her. Not painful, not frightening anymore. It was possibility, creation. Slowly she raised her hand. Reality bent around her fingers like warm wax. She would build her own Wonderland, piece by piece. And each lost soul that stumbled down the rabbit hole would face her trials. Her games, her rules. In the distance she heard it, the faint sound of footsteps. Another dreamer was coming. Alice grinned, teeth glinting in the nothingness. Her eyes gleamed red. "Let the game begin," she whispered. And Wonderland shuddered awake once more. Thank you for joining us in the world of Twilight Fables. If you enjoyed this tale and want to hear more stories like this, please subscribe and hit the notification bell for more.